In today's episode, we're addressing the third of the 4 questions in the Countdown to Retirement series that we're in. All right, everyone, let's get into today's episode. I'm Daniel Ronberg, and I specialize in helping people transition into retirement in the abundance mindset. And the third question is, do you know what you'll do when you retire? Now, this is a big question, and I think people have a lot of vague ideas of what they're going to do. They think about retirement, and it's probably even easy just to fantasize about what retirement could look like for them. And what that might mean is you don't have to wake up and go to work every day, but there's some big changes that occur as well. Our whole life, we've been conditioned to do the next thing. You go to elementary school, you get good grades, and then you go to junior high, and you got to get good grades, and high school and college so you can get a job. At the job, you try to get promoted. You get promoted so you can buy a house. You buy a house and you start a family. You work for a long time and then you retire. But then once you retire, there's not necessarily a next thing to achieve or do. And this can be challenging for a lot of people. Most people don't practice what it's going to feel like to actually retire. And that's because it's never really been dictated before, but there's almost the assumption of what you should be doing next. So let's take a look at what to do when you retire. There's a lot of free time now to consider what you want to do with it. And this can be one of the most challenging parts of the decision to retire. When you're working, you have a sense of purpose, you have structure, and you have a routine for what you're doing. And then one day you retire and there's not that same sense of purpose and structure and routine on a daily basis. I remember one day getting a call, and it was a call from a prospective client at the time. He was looking into retirement and he really just wanted to know if he could do it. And so I started to get to know him. I was asking him about his income. I was asking him about his savings. I asked him about his goals and his priorities and his concerns about retirement. And it became clear to me very quickly that from a financial standpoint, this person was in a phenomenal situation to retire. It didn't matter how much they wanted to spend. They were in a position to have a very, very successful retirement from that standpoint. So I asked, why are you still working? I asked if he still enjoyed his job, and he said he hated his job. He said, even though I hate my job, I'm still continuing to work. And so I asked him some additional questions. Well, you hate your job so much, why are you still working if you're in such a good position financially? Well, his answer was, he had no idea what he was going to do next. You see, it was scary for him to think about leaving his job. And even though he really hated it, it was comfortable for him because he'd been doing it for the last 40 years and he really had no idea what he was going to do next with his life. And that's why it's important to understand what retirement really looks like for you. Maybe you've answered and addressed the first question we laid out. Do you have enough money to retire? You've answered the second question of, have you had enough work? But then there's the third question of, well, what are you going to do next when you actually retire? Do you know what you want to do? So you may be listening to this right now and you may be saying, Daniel, I know exactly what I'm going to do. I have my first year of retirement all planned out. I have every year of retirement planned out. I'm going to have no problem finding new things to keep me busy and happy in retirement. And that's awesome. And that's great if that's you. But if that's not you, don't worry. You're very much similar to a lot of people, most people, when they go to retire. Maybe you have a vague idea of what retirement's going to look like, but you're really not sure what that next phase of life is going to bring for you. And that's the whole point of today's episode. I want to share with you some ideas and some frameworks you can use to consider to figure out what that next step is going to look like for you. These are things that I've seen my own clients do very successfully and a ton of people use successfully to enjoy that next phase of life. So when you retire, you're really retiring into something and not so much out of something without knowing what the next phase of life is going to bring. I found this great list that comes from the AXE Senior Retirement Community. Well, what this list really did was just gave me a whole bunch of ideas that some you may have thought of already and some you may not have thought of at all. But the goal of this is really to just provoke thought, to make sure that you're going to have the best season of life so far. What are some of the things that others are doing to bring fulfillment, joy, and happiness and purpose back into this time? The first is to consider moving. Maybe you live where you live because the job you had was there. Maybe you live where you live because you raised a family there, or because you have a home there that you can afford. Whatever it is, when you retire, maybe some of those things that are holding you down there just don't exist anymore. Or maybe you love where you live. And if that's the case, then that's great. But if you're living where you live because it was close to your job, or because you had a great time raising your family there and now your family's grown and independent and you're still enjoying the memories there, but it's time to move on, it may be a great idea to move to another part of the state or another state in general. Sometimes because it's better for tax reasons, sometimes it's better because of the weather, or sometimes it brings you closer to the people and places you want to be and spend time with when you're actually in retirement. So just understand and consider some of the other places you may want to check out when you retire. I found that a lot of people really enjoy the change of scenery, the new adventure. So maybe even for part of retirement or even just in the summers or winters, depending on where you live, getting to experience a new state or a new place for the first time. Number 2 is travel. Traveling the world. This is probably one of the biggest things that I ask people about that they're most excited for when they get ready to retire. And really, they just want more time to be able to travel. They want to be able to take off for a week or a month or two and not have to worry about checking their inbox, checking in with anybody, or coming back to a mountain of backed up work that's due waiting for them when they return. And I think this is what most people think of when they think of what they're going to do next in retirement. But what some people often overlook is travel right here in their own backyard. So often when we say the word travel, people instantly think of trips to Europe or Asia. But there is some very underrated and amazing places to visit right here in the continental US. So travel doesn't have to be some big, long, extravagant getaway. It could be renting or buying an RV or maybe even a 3 or 4 day little trip. It could be a little bit longer. It could be within the US. It could be outside the US. So understanding your priorities and the places you want to go see and experience and enjoy the most, or making a list of places that you've always wanted to see would probably be a great idea to start for your travel adventure in retirement. Now, the next one may surprise you, but it's actually work. And getting a fulfilling part-time job for some people is really enjoyable. So you're retired now, but it doesn't mean you necessarily have to stop working. So if you don't want to work and you're just done, that's great. And if you don't have to work financially, that's even better. But if you want to work and do something that you actually want to do to experience the job and people you get to serve, it can be a big source of fulfillment in retirement. We talked about this a little bit in our last video. So maybe it's your coworkers, maybe it's just getting back to structure, feeling that purpose, or getting a sense of routine. So if you find that there's something you really enjoy doing, for example, a lot of people go get a part-time job at Home Depot. They get a social component, they love who they work with, and they really enjoy being around that environment and getting to talk about home development and home projects with other people. That might be a great source of purpose for a part-time role in retirement. And there's so many things like that you can do that you may not be doing necessarily for a financial benefit, but maybe because you're handy around the house and you love sharing with others. Maybe you just enjoy doing those things and work provides a perfect outlet to be able to do it with structure. So I find a lot of people seek out part-time work and they're getting a chance to do it without all the pressure. They're getting to do it because they actually love showing up and doing the job. And sometimes that can be one of the coolest experiences that you get to have. And it's because you're able to do that in retirement. The next one isn't really a hobby, but it's just giving yourself some time to adjust to your new fixed income. This is sometimes a big adjustment for people. And this is why we walk people through a lot of budgeting or what we call spending goal exercises before they retire. Your whole life, you've probably had wages or business earnings, maybe bonuses or commissions, and you've been able to live off of that income. And when you transition into retirement, you move to more of a fixed income, which is Social Security, pensions, savings, and it really can take some time to get adjusted. So this isn't really a hobby or something to do in retirement, but something I felt very necessary that I wanted to add in here because you want to be able to make sure that if you're planning vacations or taking on additional activities, you're able to do it within a structure that makes sense on a fixed income. Another big one is exercise. This is one where you finally have time to prioritize your health and you want to see how far you can take your fitness. So many people when they retire, if they're lucky enough to have their health, they want to be able to do the things they couldn't do while they were working. And exercise is such a key piece of staying healthy and protecting your longevity in retirement. So whatever it is you have fun doing, whatever it is you have the ability to do, whatever it is that you can practice safely, whether that's sports, if that's weightlifting, if that's walking, some people get into biking or hiking. There's all kinds of phenomenal things you can do to be proactive with your health and enjoy exercise when you get into retirement. And exercise is one of those things that provides you with a routine. It can be a pretty good replacement for that routine and structure that you had in place at work. And while it may not be something that you have to necessarily get up early to start, it could be something that you actually get up for and look forward to starting. So whether that's yoga or water aerobics, whether you're doing things that are indoors or outdoors, the fact that you're actually participating in exercise can be a huge determining factor in maintaining happiness and your health throughout retirement. Another thing you could do that a lot of people get into is volunteering. Volunteering is something that a lot of people look forward to being able to do in retirement. And that could be anything from a couple hours a week to full-time volunteering work. So whether there's a community nearby, a church, or just something you want to mentor in or serve in, volunteering can be a very rewarding and fulfilling way to embrace and enjoy your retirement. It's something that can be very purpose driven, and I encourage people to consider when they retire so they have something bigger that they can be a part of as well. Now, the next one may be something that people look forward to the most when they retire, even more than travel, and this is family. If you have children, if you have grandchildren, maybe great-grandchildren, this is an opportunity to spend extra time with them that you weren't able to before. Maybe you're babysitting the grandchildren and you love doing that because it's a blast. And maybe it allows for your children, your grandchildren's parents, to be able to go out on a date or do the things that they need to be able to focus on to get a little time back in their week. So this is something people tend to look forward to most, whether you have your grandchildren nearby or it's an opportunity to travel and go see them. But this can also tie into a lot of the reason why people will move to be closer to family. What a lot of people are doing now is getting an Airbnb or a vacation rental in the city near their family or their grandkids and spending a few months either during the summer or winter with them, having them over to the Airbnb. Maybe it has a pool. It can be a really cool lifestyle move to be able to enjoy family and travel at the same time. So just being able to spend time with family or your friends or people you love is a phenomenal benefit that you'll now be able to enjoy now that you're no longer having to work. And lastly, I mentioned this before, but by the time you retire, you've typically accumulated so much wisdom, so much of a skill that you have a lot to share with the world. And we encourage people to make content, whether that's videos, writing a blog, or writing a book with your memoirs or life experiences for the people that you love that you can share with. It doesn't have to go on to try to be a bestseller or to sell thousands of copies or get all these views. It can literally just be something fun, and it can be an exercise that's mentally stimulating that gives you an opportunity to take all that wisdom you've accumulated and share it with others. And not because you have to, but because you want to or you get to. And even if not, it can still be an amazing process to get to be able to think about something you've put so much of your life into, your time and energy into, and to be able to express that either on paper or in video format. Now, again, that's just a list of common things I see that people do when they retire. Now, you may be watching this or listening to this, and again, you're saying, Daniel, I know exactly what I want to do when I retire, and more power to you. That's a wonderful thing to have. But most people just don't. Most people think of retire and they say, yeah, I might travel, I might spend time with family, I might volunteer, but it's an important exercise to figure out what you're gonna do when you're no longer working. What are you gonna do to fill that time and remain happy, productive, and fulfilled even in a retirement? So when you retire, you won't be looking back thinking, why didn't I plan more? Or why did I even leave my job in the first place? Why? You'll have a plan. And you'll be able to do this. Not that you have to know everything perfectly, but just that you have a general idea of what you're going to do to bring the most fulfillment and joy in your life. It's really a good thing to have that going into retirement. So this is the third step in our 4-part series. Again, number 1, understanding, do you have enough money? Number 2, understanding, have you had enough work? And number 3, what are you going to do when you retire? So don't forget to join us next time for question number 4. And if you can answer yes to this question and the previous 3 episodes, you're going to be in phenomenal shape to be in a great position to retire. So remember to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Hey everyone, if you enjoyed this video and you want more information about retirement, be sure to check out my new book, Buy Back Your Life, How to Stop Worrying About Money and Start Living in Retirement. If you want a copy of this book absolutely for free, call my office with this phone number below. Talk to the girls at the front desk. You don't have to provide any information. We just need your name and address, and they'll mail you out your copy today.